Are you looking to build an exceptional team? Our hiring toolkit bundle at luannigara.com/store is your comprehensive source for success. Craft compelling job descriptions, know the right interview questions to ask, and implement a thorough evaluation process so you get the right person. These were developed in collaboration with my cousin Eileen Hahn and based on her 40 years of experience in building exceptional teams, plus my insights from 1,000 plus interviews. Our toolkits are tested and proven. Whether you're scaling from 1 to 3 or from 3 to 10 or from 10 to 20, the hiring toolkit bundle provides the guidance that you can use to plan your hiring strategy effectively. Go to luannigara.com/store and invest in your success by investing in the success of your team. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. When you hear the phrase personal brand, what comes to mind? Most of us think of the visible pieces, the website, the logo, the headshots, the social media feed. In my case, you probably think about green, right? I wear green clothes, green bags, green shoes, green, all the things. And yes, these things do matter. But my guests today, Aga Artka and Jenny Rebholz, are talking about personal branding at a much deeper level, the human level. 10 years ago, coming out of the recession, they watched talented designers lose not just their jobs, but their professional identities. Designers who had tied themselves to the firms they worked for and then found themselves untethered. That experience led Aga and Jenny to write The Brand of You, a book about defining your personal brand not as a logo, but as your values, your purpose, your relationships, and the promise you consistently deliver. Last year, they released an updated edition because if the recession taught us anything and then the pandemic reinforced it, it's that our industry will change. Markets shift, firms close, roles evolve. And if you don't know who you are at your core, those shifts can knock you flat. Today, they're here to talk about what a personal brand means, why it runs deeper than visuals, and how defining it can give you the clarity and resilience to pivot when life inevitably throws something at you. Now, before we get into this conversation, I'd like to take a moment to thank our show sponsor, June Laloy. You might already be familiar with June Laloy, a new on-the-scene direct-to-consumer brand. But did you know that they also have a trade program? From the family behind Laloy Rugs, June Laloy is backed by 2+ decades in the trade business, offering a fresh design perspective and expert home furnishings curation. That means an expansive selection to fill your project needs with furniture, rugs, lighting, decor, and more. It also means trade benefits, including dedicated support for your business, exclusive pricing, and more to see your business through on every project. To get started, apply to the June Laloy trade program at junelaloy.com/trade. That's JOONLOLOI/trade. The link will also be in the show notes. All right, let's hear from Aga and Jenny about how to build a personal brand that can carry you through every season of your career. Hey, Jenny. Hey, Aga. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hey, Luann. This is Aga. So nice to be here.
Hi, Luann. It's Jenny. We're so appreciative of this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation. You two ladies not only wrote one book, but you've written two. So you wrote a book 10 years ago, The Brand of You. And now this past year, 2025, I guess it was, right? You came out with the second edition because, of course, as we all know, if you got a brain in your head, marketing and branding are going to change, right? But you lean a lot into defining your personal brand and how important that is for an interior designer. So I guess I have two first questions, and I'm going to let you guys decide which is the first question to go to. So the option A is give me in the audience an overview of why the book. Why is the book necessary? What does it do for an interior designer to listen? Or option B is why you two wrote the book. We're going to get to both. But where do you guys want it? Where does it feel better to start with for either one of you?
I will start. So this is Aga speaking. I feel like we should identify why we wrote the book.
Okay.
Before we get to what the book is. From my standpoint, and Jenny may agree or add something to it, I think that both Jenny and I love this field so much. And we do believe that the choice of becoming an interior designer and this career path are so, it's such a great career. And the opportunities are endless. And so I think the why behind the book and the project is for us to show how much we appreciate this industry, how much we have grown as designers ourselves, and what the opportunities are in this field for everyone entering, whatever the point in your career may be that you're entering. Again, you may be a young designer, you may be a changing career professional. I just think that this book is about opening doors, providing inspiration and motivation, and also being like a sounding board and part coach and a mentor to people navigating this industry.
Okay, I love that. I have thoughts, but I want to hear what Jenny has to say first.
Aga said some great things. One of the things I think I'd add is confidence. We want to give the reader, our audience, all designers, the confidence. You made a great choice when you chose this path, this profession. It gives you so many opportunities. The education is such a solid foundation, even for those who end up moving beyond interior design for whatever reason. We value so much what we learn to do, and we want others to know how valuable it is to the world as problem solvers, creative thinkers. It goes beyond space and improving human life, and can make so many great opportunities for you along your career journey.
Okay, this is a little crazy pants right now. I'm going to tell you guys. Between two podcasts, I've done 1,400 shows. And I don't know that I'm trying to Rolodexing in my brain all of the conversations. And there's probably another one or two somewhere, but none that are coming to mind that are hitting what in the few minutes that you just spoke, each of you, in the pre-air conversation that we had, with the conversation that you and I had, Aga, a month or so ago. Like, you really, really are doing this as a labor of love. Like, it's bonkers. Usually I ask 16 different questions. I'm like, oh, that's why. Okay, I got it. And it's like every way from Sunday, it's just like, you really, really love the industry and want to help your fellow creatives. And by the way, I show up every day doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? But I have a very clear why. Like, we make money. This is my business. You know what I'm saying? It's amazing that I love to do it, and I'm going to give my heart and soul to you if you come and do it with me. But there is such, I don't know. Like, I don't know if you're listening and you heard it. It's like there's just some true level, base level admiration, purity, innocence about the industry that you're just like, I want you to have fun doing it. I want you to be good. I want you to be confident in doing it because it's worth doing.
It's also, this is Aga, it's also hard work, right? When designers enter this industry, they don't often think, oh, I will love working 80 hours a week, a week, or I will love traveling 20 weeks out of a year.
Because you're a commercial designer, and that's what that looks like.
I mean, yes and no. I feel like if you're located on one coast and your clients are on the other coast, you're going to have to travel to see the work.
Yeah.
So, something to also consider is that we wrote this book coming out of a recession. And so a testament to true, passion-driven project. We saw so many of our friends, colleagues, designers of various levels of experience lose their jobs, feel super depressed, not know what to do, and many of them sort of in a very bizarre sort of part of networking ended up in front of us. Somebody recommended we talk to them. They were a colleague of a friend of a friend. We ended up talking in front of groups of people about the topic of reinvention. Mm-hmm. And so that's part of the basis for our definition and how we talk and think about a personal brand, is that you've got to be able to connect with why you're here, what you're doing, what brought you to design first, because that information will be the guiding principle for when the next change happens. The next recession, the next job change, the next layoff, the next pandemic, whatever that is. We're all going to live through multiple crises, right, in our lives, in our personal lives. And then you add like the whole industry and the whole world on top of that. What happens?
So what happens? People, what I'm hearing you say, you're going to correct me. What I'm hearing you say is, like, my words are, you're going to get your teeth kicked in. It's going to happen. There's going to be a recession. There's going to be, like you just said, something's going to happen in your family. It's going to take you out for a month. And then how does the business keep going? Like, every business has a moment where you're brought to your knees, okay, in some way or another. And what I'm hearing you say is, if you get so busy in the doing what you're doing on the treadmill of the hamster wheel of doing it, when it gets super hard, not just like, oh, I don't have another client, but like critically hard, if you don't remember who and what you are and why you came to it, now it all feels like what the actual, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And when we see designers leave the industry, and we're like, we ache when we hear that, right? Like, no, don't leave. Just read.
And in that situation, they might be leaving just because they have forgot the attachment to why. And so they're just looking for another why somewhere else. And maybe it's a mistake because the why is still, like, you got to go find a why wherever you are.
Yeah.
Right?
It could be the format of work, right? It could be the clients that you end up working with. It could be the community or the company that you're a part of. It could be how you're relating to others. It may not be the work itself, but all the other things around it.
And so, Jenny, what happens when you are connected to your why? What's the difference in that crisis, in that moment? How to explain that to us, why you know it matters?
It gives you power. It gives you confidence. I think, when Aga talked about how the first book came out of that recession moment, what we saw were people who lost their identity. Like, they identified with XYZ firm. I am a designer with this firm. I am not me, the professional designers. So when you start to connect with who you are as a designer, what your values are, what your purpose is, when you hit those hard moments, you're gonna, I've heard you say in other podcasts, you can cry a minute, you can scream, whatever you need to do. But when you know who you are and are clear on your brand and what you bring to the table, you're ready to figure out the next step. It may not be clear, but you have the tools to start pointing yourself in a new direction. And sometimes it's imposed upon you, these moments of change. And sometimes it's you saying, hey, things aren't in alignment right now, but where am I in my what's next? And how can I go about exploring it? And if you have clarity on your brand, it will help you, make those choices and explore different avenues.
So it's striking me that, both of you listen to the show, so you know what I'm going to, like, when you're going to picture it when I say it, is 1,000 times we've talked on the podcast about defining your brand, right? And figuring out your Fred Burns only, going all the way back 10 years, right? This is the same words, but it has different meaning, is what I'm hearing. So you're talking about knowing your personal brand, but you mean by that much deeper than just, I'm Sally Smith who designs, lake houses. You're talking about your core values. Like I say on the show, if you don't start with mission, vision, values, like, I'm sorry, you are going to get your teeth kicked in and you're not going to know how to stand up. And so I'm reading, this is personal branding, and I'm reading, defining that as, but you mean it deeper. You mean as a human, don't you?
Yeah.
In relation to your profession, a human in relation to your profession, right?
Right. I mean, nowhere in the book do we get very deep in the graphic side of brand or logo design, or what
Right.
it look like and what font
Right.
you may want to use. Like that's visual work. It's
Right.
important, but
It's
it is not what
important,
we're talking
but
about.
it's not. Yeah.
The definition of the brand of you that we came up with and we work with is a brand is a connection, a relationship, and a promise. It's nothing to do with a visual, and everything to
Interesting.
do with connecting with your own values, connecting those values to the people around you, building relationships based on those values, and then delivering on the promise, actually doing the thing that you say you are.
Yeah.
Not that you're the best designer ever, but you're bringing these values to life through the work that you do.
Right.
And that
Now,
we'll see and connect with on the other end.
you want to add something, Jenny?
Yes, human connection. I mean, that is a big part of the book, because networking is one of our focal points, and how, that's one of the great things about the industry, and what we love so much are the people that you get connected with and the resources you can provide for each other. And with that, that's why the connection to these people, the relationships you start building, and the only way to maintain and grow those relationships is by fulfilling on the promises that you put into the world.
Showing up, right?
Yeah. And that's how it opens doors for you as well. I mean, there's a million different marketing tactics and ways that you can spin information, but at the end of the day, people hire people.
Yeah.
Clients want to work with the person that they connect with the most. Bosses want to bring in people who fit within the culture and will, support the type of team that they're building, or help take them in a new direction. And so sometimes it's getting people to look beyond those, I have these computer skills and I have this and I have that, but how are you at, building relationships and connecting, different things, and the problem solving beyond the design problem at hand.
Right. So is there a story or a particular designer's journey, maybe it's one of your own or one from the book, that you can use to kind of illustrate this for us? Like somebody who had a pivotal moment, had a crisis, had a whatever, and was able to utilize this, core information about who they are, why they are, all the things, and it helped? Or like, what's a way to make this real for somebody listening?
I mean, on my own example, if I may, and this is Aga, I was born and raised in Poland. I, grew up in a culture and a society that did not provide a lot. And yet I somehow made it through. I had to make it through. But out of that experience, I take my ability to always find a way through, and let's call it resourcefulness, is one of my top guiding principles. If you say no to me, or you say, well, we've always done it this way, Like, that's almost an invitation for me
That's
to
like a red
say,
red
"I'm
cape for a
sorry."
bull, right?
And it's actually not what I wanted to hear. So let me dig into this further. Uh, I think the moment I could vocalize, verbalize, and name that value and that principle, that became super clear to me.
Hmm.
On every project, on every challenging situation, work-related, personal challenges, that's how I show up. I show up with not emotions first, but brain first. What is it that we need to do right now? What is the
Right.
challenge? How can I utilize my design skills of problem solving and critical thinking, but also my personal drive to always find a way through?
Hmm.
I think having that clarity is really valuable for people.
Mhm.
And sometimes it comes really early, and sometimes you learn that along the way.
Mhm.
So this is an early on example. Jenny, did you have another one?
Let me
Oh,
just comment on
Mhm.
her example while you
Yeah.
consider yours. So what I want to check with you is what I'm hearing is that if I go back to the Fred Burns only shows, okay, and this goes back to the first year. And he would say, find your only. Sally Smith is the only interior designer in, Podunk, Iowa, that blah, blah, blah. And so many designers for the first 4 or 5 years of the show, because Fred was coming on, he was on like 9 or 10 times over the first 5 years, they would say to me, I don't know what my Fred Burns only is. And I remember learning from Fred that your only isn't like the only designer who does, mudrooms. Like that's a dumb example. And this is what I'm hearing, Aga. This is the core thing. It's like Aga is the designer who leads with her resourcefulness, who will find a way, this is who I am at my core based on who and how I was raised. And now it's in service of you and your project, right? Like
Right.
that's what we're saying here, right?
That is exactly what we're saying. I think,
Okay.
if you lean on your skills, who knows? Like mudrooms may go out of style. And then what do you lean on, right?
Nobody needs
Uh,
mudrooms anymore. No more mudrooms. But I hear
I think
you.
what we're saying is like there's got to be a deeper reason why you show
Yeah.
up.
Makes sense. And Jenny, did you have an idea or a story to illustrate it or something to add to that?
well, just sort of in comparison with Aga, like I often lead with a little more heart than head, with about connection, human connection with my resourcefulness. So I've spent, most of my career, making sure I'm connecting to all these interesting different people. My writing side has allowed me to do that. Every time I got to interview different designers, different teams, that was my joy. And so it helped me gather all these interesting people. So often I'm called a connector because when someone says something, I'm thinking of a person that they should meet or know.
Yeah,
And I
we
think
share that trait.
and
That's
that
me too.
ultimately kind of drives a lot of what I do, or filling a gap where, people need to get something done, but they they need that resourcefulness because it's often leads to not always just me, but another person to bring into
Right.
the
It's
mix.
getting the person. It doesn't have to be you, but I can get you to the person who can
Yeah.
help you, right?
Or that's the problem solving I like, is thinking about the person, or who is that person that you should know, or
Yeah.
even helping others figure out how their dissimilar strengths and likes actually could be a business, or they
Right.
could create a position for themselves. I've never fit into a distinct little circle into the whole. I'm always a little bit outside and pulling things together, and that's what I like to
Yeah.
help others do.
That's exciting. That's cool. So what are some of the other things that, come out of reading the book that a designer can expect? So I'm a designer, maybe I'm not in that spot. Maybe I'm in that spot where I'm just like, I lost my mojo. Like, this is hard. I'm sick and tired of getting my butt kicked by this business and yada, yada, yada. Like, are there it's one thing to say, well, be connected to your personal brand and get clear on that at a very, very deep, actual visceral level for yourself. But are there ways to do it? Like, how do you help designers start that exploration? If somebody's like, I don't know what my thing is. I wasn't raised in Poland. I'm not very resourceful. Like, you know what I mean?
I'm going to start on this one. This is Jenny. I guess in my mind, it goes back to networking. And that's one of the challenging things we encourage starting at the student level, and how to help them, dip their toe in and start early. Because through talking to people, that's how you start to figure things out, at least in my mind. And I know that happened for me early on when I was thinking about my switch from being a pure designer into now more the marketing side. I had conversations with all sorts of people who were like, you should be an art teacher, you should be in an ad agency, throwing all these things out there. And it's through those conversations that I gained clarity. So as people are figuring out their path, and that's why the maps are in the book too. Like, we hope to inspire people through others' journeys so they can learn something and see, oh, do I need to make a geographical move to get to this thing I want to? Or, just see different paths and hear different stories to apply to the hard work they'll do for themselves. But I think those conversations help inform that and open, we always say, be open to the possibilities. And so you can open yourself to that if you're out networking and talking to different people facing similar challenges or moments in their career.
So the key that I have to say in that is, if we're using networking as a tactic to start to uncover these kinds of things about ourselves, then I think we have to just add the actual obvious, is that you can't be the one doing most of the talking, right? Like, you got to be asking and listening and, whoa, that thing sparked an idea for me. Like, it is okay. To your point, you said you're going to talk about yourself and then you're going to get clarity each time as you say it. But if I'm really going to start to discover something deep about myself, I feel like I have to be willing and open to hearing lots of things that maybe I would have come across that idea or that point of view, right?
Right. There's a piece of reflection here, right?
Yeah.
That we need to make sure that we touch on.
Right.
Any brand out there, whether it's a consumer brand or personal brand, the best testament of the strength or the clarity of the brand is the reflection, right? You may choose to say whatever it is that you want to be known for, but if the people, when you're not in the conversation or when you're not in the room, right? If people say something different about you, then that promise that you just shared with the world, it didn't stick. Yeah. So much for that effort.
Yeah.
So go back to the drawing.
It's funny because I remember Nicole Heimer she's been on the show also from Glory and Brand multiple times throughout the years, but it might have been her first or second podcast interview. And I remember clearly, it had to be early in the podcast, because I remember this sentence hit me like a ton of bricks, and I wrote it down and put it on my office wall at the time. And what Nicole said, to your exact point, Aga, was, think about who you are, what you do, who you serve, how you do it. And then, like, you got to put this, like, think of the answer to, oh, Sally Smith is the designer who, right? It's like, not what you say about you, but what would your client say about you? And that's exactly what you just expressed. And I remember, going, I was probably podcasting a year or two, and I was like, what should they say about me? I'm like, what? Okay. And so, what it did was, to your point, it got me very focused on not being so worried about what I told you I did, but what did I show up and do? To your point, what will you say about me when I'm not standing there? And if I don't consistently show up and do that over and over and over, how will you, who only cross my path once or twice a year, know that sentence, right?
Right. I mean, it's like in parenting, right? You can
Yeah.
teach,
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
say the thing that you want your child to know. But unless you show it,
That's right.
they'll be like,
That's
I
right.
don't know, what? You
Yeah. Yeah.
have
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
demonstrated how to be kind because
Yes.
you're not
Yeah.
kind to me. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's the truth. And it's the reverse too. That's when you do know you're doing good parenting, when other people, right?
Right.
I never forget our one kid, Matt, when he was in 7th grade. I mean, he was such a son of a gun. He really was. He tortured us. He tortured us. He was just a nudge 24/7. And I tell him to his face now, I promise you. And it was just so funny because when he was a little kid, I remember husband and I never forget, we went to his 7th grade, meet the teacher, and we sit down. This is honest to God, the teacher, oh, Matthew, he's so kind and he helps this one and she's 5 minutes word vomiting about him. And like, we've got 4 kids, right? So we like look at each other and he goes, wait, we're here for Matt and Igara. She's like,
let me check.
Yeah, she goes, no, I know that. We're like, I'm telling you what. I went home and I said, you little son of a gun, come sit down right here. I said, on one hand, I'm so thrilled that you are living our values and that you listen. But I'm sorry, share a little bit at home. Just a little bit at home. We now know you know how to be nice. So it's funny. Anyways.
Well, and I wanted to also make sure that your listeners and readers know that the first half of the book is actually all about defining your brand of you. So before you even begin considering going out there or getting, in front of people or mingling or introducing your brand to others, we want you to think through who you are, why you are, what is the foundation for you and your personal brand. And there are steps that we outline in the book.
Oh, good.
For self-discovery, for self-analysis. And we also want to make sure that people know there are millions of tools out there, right?
Right.
So we give you other resources and titles and tools to utilize. Whichever one feels good in your body, whichever one you have access to, perfectly fine. Do something in order to challenge yourself and begin the self-reflective work. Because I feel like we just don't take the time in the busy life, in the busy schedule, especially when you're a solopreneur, you're running a business, you're growth mode, focused on, next quarter. It's just very challenging to make time to connect with what are we actually here to do. And on a personal level, does this still satisfy my soul?
Yes.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, can I make a tiny adjustment? Like you don't have to leave right away, right? Or close the door.
Right.
But is there something that would make it, if you can name it, if you can name the pain, right? Like the discomfort, it'll be easier to find a solution. And so that's part of the work, is figuring out the current state. We also get into, industry-specific information, like based on what you're after. If you're starting out and you're interested in X, Y, and Z sector of design, for example, here are some places to check, right? Like you may want to network with one organization over the other, because people that are members within these groups, and they're all design groups, but they're very niche specific, right? Like you can be a residential designer, but you can also be focused on sustainable design. And if that's the case, then there are specific organizations and groups and places to have conversations to enrich your own experience and the deliverables. And then obviously a lot of talk and a lot of sort of tools and strategies when it comes to networking. How to network? What does that even mean? How to talk to people in person, virtually, on camera. We're assuming nothing, to be honest.
Yeah. Do you get pushback from designers who say, I don't like to network? Because both of you have mentioned it multiple times, as it sounds like it's a key component of being successful in this exploration in the brand of you. But, there are designers who are going to look at you point blank and go, I don't like to network. So what happens then?
We talk about, this is Jenny again, we talk about finding your comfort zone. I think a lot of times people equate networking with being an extrovert at some level. Like you don't have to go to, a ballroom full of people and try and navigate that situation. I think it's figuring out your comfort zone and how you can connect with people. And it could be just one at a time. It could start, often, especially with students who are very fearful, using LinkedIn as a tool to kind of do some outreach and see if they can connect with someone and really look at their profile, someone who's seems interesting to them. In fact, we often say to students, use that as a lead-in, because our profession is so helpful and generous with their time, and especially with students. So we try to give them encouragement as to, yes, it can be scary, it can be difficult, but we believe in you. You can do it. And it's the repetition of it. As you do it a little bit more, you'll gain more comfort with it. But it's like you talked about in terms of, it's about asking questions of others versus coming in with what you need or want. It's like, no, this is a reciprocal thing. We're getting to know each other just like you would try to make a new friend or reconnect with someone in your family. And sometimes we give them tips of doing it, just smile at a stranger at the grocery store if you didn't do that before, or ask a question, start finding a comfort zone with it. And slowly it will become a natural habit for you.
Yeah. It's a funny thing because, my cousin Eileen Hahn, who's been on the show also many times, she's a leadership expert. She lives in San Diego, California. And I went to visit her, oh my goodness, probably, 20 years ago to help her, do some window. She just had redesigned her whole home, and we were going to do all the window treatments and stuff for her. And then I was just helping her do some accessories and things like that, because I'm not a genius at it, but she's less genius than I am. So we said, all right, then you go do it. And you say that whole, just smile at somebody if it's not normal for you and just keep doing it and it gets normal. I swear to God, I came back from 10 days there, 7 days there, whatever it was. And I said to my husband, I don't know where that place is. I don't know where it's like a different planet there. Everybody's nice. Everybody smiles at it. It took me 3 days to start responding to people at the store when I'm checking out. And they're like, hi, how are you today? And I'm with my head down, looking for my money, thinking they must be talking to their friend. They're not talking to me. And then I would look up and they're like, having a good day? And I'm looking behind me wait, are you talking to me? You know what I'm saying? It's just it was starkly different than in the dirty Jersey. That's all I can tell you. And now I just, you know what it was? It was Pleasant, though. I actually ended up calling her town where she lives in Del Mar, Pleasantville. I was like, well, you just live in Pleasantville. And it was pleasant, and it was kind, and it was nice. And now I'm that person. I'm in a gabillion airports. I'm, thanking the people as I'm getting off the plane for cleaning the plane, and the porters, and, getting my stupid thing. Half the people do not respond. I have to tell you, most of them don't. Unless I'm in California. But it is I just bring it up because when you say, if it's just a little habit, a little thing that you're going to change, it does grow and change over time. The other thing, Jennifer, that I heard you say in there is, when I said, what do you say about a designer who says, I don't love networking? I love that, we don't think of networking as saying, would you like to have coffee with me? But that's networking, right? I'm reminded of the episode with Stephanie Castillo, and she was from Rumblewood Interiors, I think her business name is. And this is also going back, my goodness, 6 or 7 years ago. But she came from one industry. I want to say she came from the beauty industry, and she decided to become a designer. And she was up in the Portland, Oregon type area, up that way, Washington area somewhere. I think Washington. And she found a designer somewhere, maybe on Instagram. She admired her work. And she contacted her somehow, and she was like, I'm brand new. I'm a minute in business. Would you have coffee with me? And, I can't picture her. I can picture her face, and I can't picture her name. And if they're listening, it's going to be I'm so sorry. But, and it's going to come to me, okay? But she was like, yeah, sure. And they hit it off. They ended up becoming partners. I've met them both at Las Vegas Market and the High Point Market multiple times. But to your point, Jen, if you don't want to walk into an ASID or an IDS event with 60 people in it, that's not the only definition of networking, right? It's, to your other point, Aga, it's human connection, right?
Yeah. And I think reframing, I mean, drop the word networking if you don't like the word.
Yeah.
Like, you can call it whatever you want.
Right. It's just
meeting
connecting
people.
with humans, meeting people.
Mingling. But the idea is we don't operate in a vacuum. I think design, and especially the construction world, is so collaborative that you will get nowhere if you don't learn how to operate with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And learning to operate with other people is based on trust. And how do we develop trust? One tiny step at a time, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
And the thing is, like, I have a chairman of the board now that is regularly getting referral, big projects, multiple $1 million projects from architects and builders, right? Because you show up on the job, you're a human, you're not just clackety-clacky in your high heels and barking orders, but you're collaborating, to your point, and you're doing good work, and you're seeing their work, right? Seeing what they're doing, not just being there and, blah, blah, blah. And then they remember you, and it's like now they have another opportunity, and they like put your name in the hat for it, right?
I think this whole conversation is just so, like, we're back to people like to work with people.
Mm-hmm.
We sort of lost that a little bit in the pandemic time period, where it was so easy to hide behind a camera, although now we're behind the microphone.
We're not hiding, though.
We're not hiding, right? Like, especially for young designers who haven't had the chance to practice being out amongst people, being challenged with discomfort and having conversations, starting a conversation, introducing themselves. I think the technology piece, how prevalent it was, and it was the only option, it did a lot of us quite a bit of disservice. So the rewrite of the book, we really lean into that, the knowing that people are coming in with this extra discomfort of being with others and are challenged and afraid and uncomfortable. And the only way to get through discomfort is exposure, right? Exposure therapy, tiny exposure moments.
Yeah.
And if that means you bring a friend along because it feels very weird in your body to go alone, bring a friend along. If you need to, bring 2 friends along.
You need a posse, bring a posse.
Right.
Right.
Meet one person, 2 people, and you're done. Like, you don't have to stay until the end. Tiny steps at a time. But that's how you build a professional network. You show up.
And sometimes you don't feel like showing up, but sometimes when you push yourself that day to go to whatever it is, I have many cases of it being the best decision I made, or a great connection. And so, I was listening to, was it the David Neagle, The 3 Powerful Choices?
Okay.
Interview?
Yes.
And kind of that just change in attitude or perspective, and making, again, that one tiny shift can make all the difference and, change how you walk the world a little bit. I think also when Aga was talking about the beginning of the book and how we kind of walk you through developing the brand of you, we talk about the fuel and the factors and the essence of who we are as designers. We found our way to design because we were creative, we were passionate. We are trying to get people to make changes in their work environments, homes all the time. So our ability to tap into our creativity, passion, and our own willingness to embrace change is what this process is all about. And we're designing for humans. So we can't be afraid to connect with humans, to build our brand or our business, because we're in the business of creating the built environment for human interaction and connection.
Yeah. Now, we have talked, you guys have both mentioned a couple of times, like, especially for, emerging students and things like that. But you also, a lot of or part of the book, at least anyway, focuses on the pivot, right? So it's not necessarily somebody who's 23 coming out of college, but it could be somebody 43 that's deciding, hey, you know what? I've been in this cubicle too long and I've had this passion and blah, blah, blah. So from the book, either give us some insights in that, or maybe give us a story from the book where that was successful. I mean, what would be the better way to kind of talk about that mid-career person, that change person? Because we have a lot of those in the audience, like side hustling. They're doing their corporate or they're doing their other job and they're trying to get this design thing off the ground while they do it.
Yeah. I think that the questions remain the same.
Sure. Yes. I get that.
So you come in with a greater baggage, right? It's heavier, greater expectations, probably much bigger household budget that needs to be supported. But yet the questions remain, why am I doing this again? Who am I? What brought me here? What are my values? So it's the same process that a young or experienced designer, doesn't matter, would go
Right.
through. It may just feel like, why do I not know this? Like, I've been practicing for 20 years and I don't know this. Like, what am I missing here?
Right.
I just think that you get to a point where you want to practice, you go to school, however you end up in this industry, and you go.
Yeah.
Full force forward. And then
Yeah.
at some point, things break. And that's your point of self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a great story in the book, and that's Nicole Cranon. She has practiced in various capacities for probably a decade and a half. She was in and out of school, trying to figure out, like, what is actually not aligning here? Like, why do I keep searching? And she ended up ultimately connecting the dots 15 years or so later, that her true passion is connected with nature. So biophilic design is how she now goes about delivering her expertise. So she's practiced in interior design. She studied people's, she studied anthropology. So she was digging. But at some point, it all became very clear. And it was through the self-discovery, and it was through talking to people, and it was through not being satisfied, right? Knowing that, like, it's still not, it's not feeling 100%. And for me, right, for my own body, it seems like this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. And she came, like, when we say, like, what brought you here to this point to design? When you talk to her and we tell her story in the book, she remembers very vividly having these wonderful experiences playing out in nature, and connecting, that was her happy place, connecting always back to the moment where she was out with her dog. The world was not a thing. She could focus. She could have a wonderful time. And now, with all the preparation through work experience and her education, she's connecting nature and trying to provide this experience that she had as a little girl through design to others. Like, it's just so poetic. I can't.
Yes.
You have to read your story.
Yeah.
But that is the essence of the Fred Burns only that he kept trying to say. It's in you. It's not outside. You can't pick an only and apply it to you, right? It's like you got to find that connection. You guys have said it over and over in the last 45 minutes, the connection to what's happening inside you. So that's interesting. And what I'm hearing in there as well, Aga, is that, Nicole is designing, and she was probably successful, has clients doing the things, but you're just saying there's this little thing in the back of her head that's like, what? Is this it? Like, I thought this was going to be it. And that now it feels like it. So it wasn't like this whole thing gets dumped. This whole thing goes out with the bathwater. It's just, where's the lane in here that fulfills her, right?
Yeah. And then there's life, right? Like, along the way, she had some health challenges and some things that she discovered along the way, and people came into her life and brought new information that she didn't have when she was starting out. Again, people, right? People support people. Yeah.
What were you going to say, Jen?
I think an important part of that story is the self-analysis along the way. She was finding new positions. It didn't feel right always, but she was trying each time to identify what that was while still gaining very valuable experience and great education. And often, there are people in the world who are like, I love where I work. I love this position. I'll be here forever. Well, we believe those people should still go through this process. The book isn't meant only for, I need a big change in my life. If you make it part of your, yearly routine of just walking the world, it's a constant check of, yep, I'm on the right path because of XYZ. These factors are all in alignment. And then when something starts to shift, you're going to see it more clearly too. And it could be a personal moment. Something happens that changes your perspective of your professional trajectory. Because there's so many moments in all of our lives that, we don't expect, that you're like, oh, I think of things in a different way now. So now my job doesn't align, and what to do next. But maybe for 10, 20 years, it was the perfect fit.
Right. So I guess before I let you guys go, what I'm hearing is, like, it's funny because when I talk about, you have to sit down and do your mission, vision, values, invariably someone will raise their hand and say, how do I do it? Right. And I'm like, well, that's a whole nother thing now. That's a 3-hour thing. Right. And this sounds like the book is the how of it. It's the prompts, it's the questions, it's the exercises to go through it. Is there a single exercise or prompt or question that you could share with everybody now to give them a taste of what it would be like to go through the book and to experience it for themselves?
Well, just recently we have developed this additional tool actually to help people with the personal values discovery and that conversation. So that's a download. It's a little journal, a couple pages that you can get from the website, thebrandofyou.com. Because of conversations like this, when people would get to like, but the personal values, what is that?
Right.
What do I do here?
Right.
So we thought through that part even more. But even in the revised edition of the book, at the end, we compiled 10 or so short activities that support each of the chapters. And so there's a page on sort of getting acquainted with the idea of a personal brand. Nothing too specific just yet, but sort of thinking about terminology and some things that we'll talk about. So easing the reader in. There's a couple of things that we put in front of the readers to help challenge the thinking about goals, set up, identifying where you're headed, what you're interested in, and how that may influence the steps in between some of the tactics. We talk about the difference in tactics and objectives and goals. There are tools on thinking through, especially when you're starting out, like, I don't have a network, right? Like, I'm new, I don't know anyone. Well, that's not really true. Here's an activity for that.
Yeah.
From A to Z, fill it in with people that you know, right? Like, that's actually a big network.
Yes.
The truth here is, like, what kind of network is it? Is it a shallow network? You just know their names? Or can you deepen the connections with the people that you already have some sort of interactions with, right? That's where magic happens, when you actually spend the time to get to know each other. So there is quite a bit. The website, in addition to the book itself, has some additional tools, and they're all free downloads.
Oh, great.
And we're hoping, the more people know about them, you can just sort of jump right to it and get working on the brand review discovery.
Yeah. But the book is what you need. You got to read the book.
Yes. I would add that the career maps in and of themselves are a great tool and guide, and what a lot of readers resonate with. And of the schools that are using the book, I would say that's the number one activity that the instructors, professors have the students start doing, is their own career map that got them to that point, and often even dreaming about what the rest of the road, may look like. Because, when you see someone's resume, it's all these bullet points, and what the mapping exercise, and Aga drew all of those maps. It shows moments where there were geographical changes, job changes, personal life moments, And that's where the reader really starts, I think, to reflect on their own journey, no matter where they are in it, beginning, middle, senior level. And so I think it's effective. And the instructors always talk about just what a great activity that is. So we encourage people to do that.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. My creative outlet, drawing career maps based on what stories that people were telling us.
That's great.
You can also use them as coloring.
Right.
They're quite tedious and very tiny visuals at times, but do us a favor and really do sort of dig into some of those, because they do tell a story that no other, like an article can't get to the bottom of like the very human components of one's career story. A resume certainly doesn't.
Right.
And so what we try to do with those career maps is really show the human side of a career path.
That's
so that
great.
Others could truly feel inspired and feel like they can do it too.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love it. Is there anything that is left unsaid about this book and your thoughts for the industry and what you want to say or share? No pressure. I'm just don't want to leave you if I feel like, is there, did we do it? Do we do it justice? Because I feel like there's so much in this book that I don't want to leave without, if there's something on your mind.
It's just reinforcing that you're not alone. I mean, yes, there's so much this book can do for you, and Aga and I are always here for the community. And I think for me, that's the message. Often we walk this world and we feel like we're the only one going through this or whatever it may be. You're not alone. People have faced similar challenges and found their own path, and you can find your own path too. And we hope that the book will help you feel like we're in the room with you, even if you're not listening to us on a podcast or whatever it may be, because you're supported. And the whole design community is just a great supportive network that we encourage you to tap into.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And from my standpoint, I want to say that do read the stories of mine and Jenny's, because I think you'll get a better sense of why this book is even in existence. We each other play such an important role in each other's lives, personally and professionally. And I think we're just hopeful that people find this sort of connection along the way, and they find such deep and important mentorship and friendships. If nothing else, we really just want to showcase that it's
possible.
Possible. It's possible if you trust in people, human connection. You put yourself out there, and magical things can happen.
That's awesome.
You don't know where it's... Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You don't know where it's going to begin. The best part about our story is it started in a classroom. I was an instructor. Aga was a student. And students sitting in classrooms all across the country, these moments are happening for you if you're open to it and embrace them.
That's right. Right. That's awesome. So we go to thebrandofyou.com. Is that where we're going, right?
Indeed.
Thebrandofyou.com. Yes. So we can learn all about the two of you and about the book and the free downloads and all the things, right?
That's right.
Yes.
And that's where you order the book also.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, Aga and Jenny, thank you so much for being here today. I think, your passion for what you're doing, the way you want to share it with the industry, it's incredible. It's really something to see and witness and feel in this conversation. So I appreciate you both.
Thank you so much, Luann.
Okay, another great conversation, right? What I love about this discussion is that it reinforces something that Nicole Heimer of Glory and Brand has been telling us since practically day one of this podcast more than 10 years ago. And that is, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room, right? It isn't just your logo. It's not your font. It's not your curated Instagram grid. These are important, as we said. And Aga and Jenny are saying the same thing and taking it even further. Your brand is the connection you make with people. It's the relationship. It's what you promise. It's what you deliver. And here's the thing, if you tie your identity to your firm, to your title, to your current niche, or even your current client roster, you are building on something that can possibly change. If you are working in a firm that restructures, that merges or closes, who are you professionally? If you're self-employed and your niche slows down or your aesthetic falls out of favor or your business model needs to pivot, who are you then? That's what they're talking about. Your title can change, your market can shift, your revenue can fluctuate, trends can come and go, but your values, your way of solving problems, the way you show up in relationships, that doesn't disappear unless you've never defined it in the first place. Now, we've seen recessions, pandemics, we've seen supply chain chaos and tariffs and economic swings. More change is coming. It is always coming. It's always coming. There's no doubt about it. That's the only thing that's sure, is that you can't be sure. And what Aga said about tapping into your why, that's great advice. That's resilience strategy. When you know why you started your business, when you know what you value, when you know what your non-negotiables are, pivoting is easier. Hard decisions are easier. Even setbacks are easier. I can tell you from being a part of WindowWorks for 40 plus years, there have been plenty, my friends, of turning points, not all of them turning in the fun way, okay? And navigating them with sanity always, always, always comes back to mission, vision, values. It's not theory. That's my lived experience. I'm telling you, okay? And I thought it was so powerful when they talked about designers leaving the industry during identity crises. Not because they didn't love design, but because they had tied who they were too tightly to one role, one firm, one version of success. This distinction matters, okay? Think about it. And then the other piece that they talked about was the networking piece, which really isn't about networking at all, is it? It's about human connection. People hire people. Architects refer people they trust. Builders refer people and designers they trust. Clients choose designers that they trust and connect with. You cannot build a lasting career in a collaborative industry without building relationships. And as they said, if it makes you uncomfortable, start small. One conversation, one coffee, one connection. See how it goes. What I want you to walk away with is this. Personal branding at the level Aga and Jenny describe, it's actually not optional because you're going to have a reputation whether you create it and are intentional about what it is or not. Okay? That's a simple fact. So you may as well be the one to shape it. Okay? And the thing is, to shape it, you've got to think about it. You've got to figure out who you are and what you stand for so you can start to talk about it and share it and you build your reputation. And the good news is you don't have to do it alone. Their book is full of exercises, career maps, and tools to help you do the work. Not just think about the work, doing the work. Okay, so pick up the book, download the free exercises, reflect on your own journey, define your values, and build your network intentionally. Because once you know who you are and what you stand for, I promise you every other decision becomes easier. All right, the link to the book will be in the show notes. Thank you, Aga and Jenny, for such a thoughtful conversation and so much time and thought and energy that you've put into this so that so many of us can be the beneficiary of this body of work that you've put together. Thank you, really. And thank you for listening and showing up today. I just appreciate you so much for doing that. Decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at luannigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.